Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, your sleep-deprived and overly caffeinated host, Tony Cañas. And today I am pitching for the first time in my life a six-tuple header. 6 podcasts one day. This is number 3. How this happened, I don't know. Actually, I do know how it happened, and it'll never happen again. So today is a Guinness World Book record day for me. Not official Guinness, but world record day for me that I'll never do again. Those far they've been really fantastic. And now I have with me Chrysa Jones, COO at StreamSettle. Chrysa, thank you so much for joining me today. How's it going?
Thank you so much for having me, Tony. And it's going fantastic. I'm really happy to be here.
My absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure. And it looks like you are in Texas, so Cypress, Texas. And it looks like we might be having internet issues. So I'm waiting for a second.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
I lost you again.
yeah. I think you're back. Okay. So
Okay.
so Cypress, Texas.
Yes.
Is that Dallas area, Houston area, Austin
Houston area.
area? Okay, Houston area.
The
So
humid city of Houston. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
May 16th, in Houston, I'm gonna take a wild guess. You guys are running 85 degrees and 100% humidity.
That's right. Yes. At least 85.
I
So
don't
we're
know how you do
already
it.
summer's in full swing. We would not live here, but for all of our amazing family that lives here and supports us. And my husband's my co-founder. So when we travel, we rely heavily on parental support. So we've got
Oh,
both sets
wow.
of grandparents within 20 minutes of us. So we rely heavily on them, which has just been amazing.
All
And
right.
yeah, that's why we're here. So
Okay, and since you live in Houston, I'm assuming you fly United.
we do
I'm sorry to
mostly
hear that.
United. Yeah, I know. That's
This
what we
very
do.
Delta
Frequent flyers.
loyal Atlantan. Okay.
Yes.
I'm glad that you laughed at that. It's always risky to make fun of an airline. Uh, we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What is StreamSettle?
So StreamSettle is essentially a triple blind deal detector. And what I mean by that is that we're currently being used between insurance adjusters and plaintiffs' attorneys to help them reach settlements faster on their disputed claims. And so, how it works is that insurance adjusters can put in their true, no BS top offer into our software. Plaintiff attorneys put in their no BS bottom line into our software. Neither side can see those numbers. We can't even see those numbers unless they overlap. So, if there is a deal to be made, we can detect that
Okay.
without having people show their cards.
Okay. It's a really cool idea. Really cool idea. All right, all right.
Thanks.
And I don't know if I interrupted you there or if you were gonna go a lot deeper. Feel free to keep going. But this is really interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so we can be used anywhere that there's a negotiation to be made where the parties don't want their numbers to be seen, which is pretty much every negotiation. You know, you don't want to show your cards because then the other side uses them against you and the negotiation doesn't work as smoothly as you'd like. So,
Can,
um,
can I get it in app format for like $9 a month to use at home?
actually, it's free unless you settle.
All right,
So
all
we don't
right.
even charge.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Okay.
know. Right? We talk about like marital disputes. Like, can you? People are like, can I use this for any negotiation?
And
And
that was facetious,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I love the idea. Okay, so yes, the idea intuitively makes sense to me. Okay, I'm a former adjuster. Now I started my insurance career in the adjusting side, so I never made it to litigation. Never made it to the level at which this would have been needed. But I do chat with a lot of claims people. I do chat with a lot of claims managers and some claims some chiefs of claims every once in a while. Uh, and I do interview a lot of companies that are building software to serve the claims area. And I have not chatted with anybody else that's doing this. We are 700 episodes in just about. In fact, by the time this one goes live, it could be episode 700. Uh, so I'm surprised nobody had done this before because I think we don't even normally my thinking goes something like this. Number one, will do we need to dig into why this would be useful? We don't. Anybody in
Right.
claims, it immediately will see the usefulness. Okay. Number two, I always also think, okay, if we have any listeners, because Insurance Nerds started as an early career platform. Um, so do we have, if we have listeners who are new to insurance, do we need to like explain this? Not really. Quite simply,
Right.
when negotiating a claim with an attorney, both sides have a bottom line or a top line that they're willing to go to. And in the traditional process, they're going to spend a lot of time playing
And money.
games and
Lots of money.
exactly. And historically, there's not been a way to avoid that. And now, negotiation is not only about the number, but the number's the biggest piece.
Right.
All right. So a tool that can very quickly, if I'm the adjuster, uh, very quickly get me the attorney's lowest number that matches with mine, right? And if I'm the attorney, a tool that can very quickly get me the highest number the adjuster's had today that matches with mine
Right.
is fantastically fantastic. Now, my worry. So in this, normally I'm asking a little bit about the importance of it. In this case, the importance I think is obvious to everybody. In this case, I'm more, and the technology doesn't seem that crazy. If the technology is really complex, do let me know. But it seems like the technology shouldn't be that crazy. What?
Yeah, it's pretty complex.
Okay,
We have a
tell
patent
me a little
pending
bit about it.
encryption protocol for this
Oh
that took us
yes,
a
the
while
encryption has to be
to,
absolutely. There's every
yeah,
incentive
to
on
develop.
both sides to like find out the secret number.
Yes. And we have every protocol in place to where that is impossible. So
Perfect.
we can't even see the numbers. And that
And
was the tricky part.
and and
It,
and that, and that is kind of what my question was
yeah.
going to, which is how do we get the two parties to trust the system?
Yeah. And at first we thought, that was going to be our biggest concern. And it turns out that, once people use it, then they realize nobody can see the numbers. And not only that, they're saying, can you actually tell us if we're close enough? And so that we built out another software just within the past couple of weeks and just launched it 2 weeks ago and already had a settlement with this close enough option to where if both parties indicate that they would like to be notified if they're close enough, meaning if their numbers are within 20% of each other, they will be notified. So we
Okay.
also have that built out as well.
Okay.
So
So
we
so
have the ultra encrypted
uh-huh.
vault mode where, nobody can get in, nobody, no matter what, couldn't even get into our developers to find those numbers because of the encryption protocols that are make it impossible to do so. But now we also have another version where we're finding the users are liking this one even more, where um, we can tell them if they're within 20% of each other.
Okay,
So,
perfect. So basically, if we are nowhere near each other, then go back to to the drawing board completely and
sure.
the strategy.
Well, you just have to,
Uh,
then and this is probably the biggest kind of hidden benefit that we didn't realize going into this. We thought, the best part about StreamSettle was that we're going to be able to, if there's a deal to be made, we can find it. So we'll catch
uh-huh.
settlements at the earliest possibility. But
Uh-huh.
also, the adjusters who are using us are saying, you know, if we don't reach a settlement at, let's say, right after the claim's been evaluated, and that's where they normally test their numbers initially, if they don't have a settlement at that point, it just informs them that they have to continue working up the claim. So they need to take the next step in litigation process. And so it's kind of like hey, we can settle this today, or no, we're not even close. We've got to continue working this up, maybe go hire some experts or get the defense on board or
Mhm.
whatever the next step is. And then we encourage parties to test their numbers each time in that litigation process just before they're about to blow a bunch of money. So before
That
the
makes
plaintiff
perfect sense.
attorney has to go hire a bunch of experts or take a bunch of expert depots, which are incredibly expensive, the insurance side has to do the same thing at that stage. The stages align. And so we say, hey, test your numbers and see if you can get it done here. If there's a deal to be made, we can let you know that you can go ahead and reach a settlement today. Otherwise, you've got to go ahead and enter that next stage of litigation. So it's kind of a built-in tool to indicate, can we get it done or do we have to keep going?
That makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, and if we're within 20%, then let's talk.
Yes, exactly. And they can either, so when they're within 20%, they know they're within 20%. A lot of times they'll get on the phone and say, hey, let's get it done at this number, and they get it done right away.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
they can continue going on the platform until they reach a settlement with no extra charge. So
perfect. What
we've seen it done both ways.
what a win-win-win.
Yeah, that's the goal, you know? So prior to this, my husband's, he's a board certified personal injury attorney, and I ran his law practice with him for years. And we just noticed this is crazy. You know, we're both working up this case, both sides are working up this case and spending tons of money to do so, only to settle on the courthouse steps for a number that everyone would have been happy with 2 years ago. And so we're like, there has to be a way where we can see if our real numbers overlap without having to show each other what they are. And so that's where this idea was born, was just out of, pure frustration and just knowing that there has to
I,
be a better way.
I'm
And
surprised nobody had built this
me
before.
too, me too. So
I guess I guess the encryption
it was
piece.
his idea, and it was a shower idea. I'm in the kitchen and I hear him scream, I've got it. And I'm like, okay, what is he talking about? We're in the middle of working up a trucking case. We're about to go on a family vacation. And we both know this thing's not going to trial. And we're getting hammered with motions from the defense. And we're like, this is crazy. We know it's going to settle. They're just billing the file. And he said, I got it. And so my first thought was, someone's definitely doing this. So great idea, but no chance that no one's already doing this. So we spent a lot of time, hired a patent attorney, dug in everywhere we could, and found out no one was doing this yet. So we hopped on a patent right away and got to work and completely shut down the law firm, referred all cases out, and gone all in on StreamSettle ever since. So
Wow. Wow,
yeah,
wow. All right. Okay. So normally I'm trying to like think through my usual. I don't have like a list of questions, but I have a general flow, right?
sure.
So normally I ask about implementation. So implementation generally, like, it's gonna be painful to connect to our systems. Uh, do you even need to
No, we require zero integration. So
perfect, because I'm literally feeding you one number.
right,
It just
right.
has to be in a secure format. Okay.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
no, so there's literally no integration. We could be live.
No integration. We've
Okay.
had an adjuster create an account, log on, create the claim, which takes less than a minute. We just need claim number, claimant name, date of loss, lawyer email.
Okay.
Create the claim, the lawyer's invited, and they had that claim settled within 5 minutes. So from
Wow.
creating an account for both users to settlement took like 4 minutes. And that's our fastest one we've had done. But it is that fast and it is that simple. Um, we have our other challenges, of course, where we're trying to get two parties who typically hate each other to use the same software. So that we thought was going to be our bigger challenge, and it was, and it still is a little bit. But then once they talk to each other and realize that, hey, this is a win-win for everyone. You don't no risk. You don't have to show each other your cards. You don't have to pay anything unless it works. And so they're pretty much on board at that point. And then yeah, that's probably and that's, I always talk about the biggest benefit to this so far has been seeing an otherwise really contentious space where they, typically hate each other and they're pissing each other off all day by giving each other low ball offers and high ridiculous policy limit
Play a game.
demands.
Yeah.
And now they're reasonable. They're being reasonable, and because they have a safe place to be reasonable. And so it's great. The adjusters are like, I'm finally able to work with this attorney after, 20 years we couldn't even talk to each other. And now we're settling cases all the time just because we can have a safe place to be reasonable. So it takes out that initial, I'm demanding $1 million. Okay, I'll give you 5,000. And then everyone's mad. And then they take years to head on back and forth and spend so much money and get all worked up over it. We're like, just put your numbers in. If you have a deal, great. If you don't, keep working it up. So
That that is fabulous. All right. All right. Um, what is the revenue model? What is the pricing? Who pays for the service?
So both sides, and we
Okay.
only charge a success fee. And so it was really important for us to keep with this theme of reasonability. We only want reasonable users, and we want to be reasonable ourselves. And so what we do is, it costs nothing to use the platform. It costs nothing to test your threshold numbers, to put your numbers in. It costs no dollars for anybody, no SaaS fees, nothing like that. In the event that a settlement is reached on StreamSettle platform, we charge 1% of the settlement to both sides. And we cap that fee at $1,000 too. So we wanted to be,
$1,000.
comparable to mediation. We're better than mediation in a way because we want to be, and mediation has its place. Don't get me wrong. We are just the numbers. And if it doesn't work out with StreamSettle, there are times, of course, you're going to need a mediator to bring the parties together and mediate. My husband's a mediator himself, and they have their own, of course, very needed role. But with a mediation, you pay either way more than $1,000 per side.
Mm-hmm.
You show your cards, and you're still posturing for that mediator's proposal. So nobody really, it's and then a lot of times you don't reach a settlement at the end of the day, but you still shown your cards and paid, 1,500 up to $5,000, whatever the state you're in. And so we thought, let's just see if we can test our numbers and only charge if it works. And so that's what we do. We only charge a success fee of 1% of the settlement.
All right. All right. All right. So win-win, no implementation, reasonable pricing. If so, I come from the carrier side, right? Not
Yep.
from the attorney side. So I can't speak for the attorney side. I definitely want to hear what you're seeing. Uh, on my side, if insurance companies were rational, which they're not, but it's not that they're irrational, it's that they're conservative and slow. And the average insurance carrier thinks of themselves as fast followers, and in reality, they're laggards. But if insurance companies behave rationally, 100% of insurance companies would sign up for it immediately because there's nothing to lose. There's no
There's
risk.
truly nothing to lose. I think it's just a matter of, nobody wants to go first, but
Of course.
we found our first customer pretty much right after we built it. And
Uh-huh.
we've been working with them up in the Northeast, and they've been absolutely fantastic. Our adjusters have been angels and working with us through, how it goes when you have brand new software. We don't come from the insurance space. So it took a lot of learning on our end, a lot of listening from them, a lot of building trust in a way that they are able to tell us the hard stuff, the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that they hated about our product, basically, and what we needed to do better. And so we did that for the past year with them. We've brought on about 46 law firms on the other side of their claims.
Fantastic.
And then, yeah, we're right now we're bringing on a couple other insurers, mid-sized insurers as well. Um, Currently. And so we'll be bringing on other plaintiff attorneys tied to the other side of their claims. And I think with our data so far, we've had more than half of the claims that have been negotiated on StreamSettle have settled right out of the gate first at the first instance. About 35% are
More than
waiting one party or another. Yes. Like maybe they're awaiting meds, or maybe the client's still treating, they're still waiting on one party to put in their number. And then 13% have settled off the platform. So, which the adjusters have said, hey, that, inviting the lawyer to StreamSettle is what got that lawyer to finally call us back. So we're still adding
wow.
value there. So yeah, we know it's working. And so we're able to then take this data, that the success data, and bring it to larger carriers. We really need to bring on a national carrier so that we can have better alignment with all of our plaintiff attorney networks. So right now, unless a plaintiff attorney has a claim against the carrier, the one carrier we're working that's regional up in New Jersey, then they can't use StreamSettle. And so we're now just brought on another carrier who has a footprint across multiple states. And so we're excited to see what that looks like once we get more traction. But yeah, that's what we're thinking too. It's too hard to say no to, but just like as with every other new product, you've got to kind of prove yourself first.
On the attorney side, so on the carrier side, I
It's a
dare
no-brainer.
any listener out there, if I'm wrong, I want to say I'd love to have you on the podcast to tell me why I'm wrong, but you can't come because you work for a carrier. If I'm wrong, send me a message, and I promise not to say your name out loud, but I will admit that I was wrong, explaining what is the problem with it other than company politics, right? Other than compliance, it takes forever to get approval for anything. Other than our own internal industry and company problems, is there an actual reason not to use a product like this? I would love to know, honestly. So on the attorney side, since you come from that world,
Right.
what is there hesitation?
What's in it for them, right?
No, I can see what's in for. Are they super excited to jump in, or is there hesitation? And why?
They're excited. They're
That's
like,
what I would figure.
yeah. So they work on a contingency fee. So whether the claim settles on day 40 or day 440, they're getting 40%. And just
Mhm.
because they have to go hire a bunch more experts or spend a ton of money litigating that claim, it's not going to come out of the plaintiff attorney's pocket and it's not
Mhm.
going to come out of the client's pocket. They're not going to suddenly be willing to accept less money. And so it has to come from somewhere. It just drives the parties further apart. The insurer ends up having to pay for those costs as well. And it's a big mess. And so for them, the faster they can get the claim resolved at a reasonable amount, the better. So we are not for the attorneys who are saying, I only accept policy limits demands on every single claim and I only going to, settle for $5 billion on every claim. We're not for those folks. We are for the reasonable attorneys. And that, of course, those claims have their place. And, that's not for StreamSettle. There are going to be plenty of claims that need to be tried, but 95% of claims settle without trial. So we know that 95% of the claims, they have a chance of settling, way earlier than what they do. And so those are the claims that we're tackling. So yeah, they're incentivized to get it done as fast as possible, just like the insurer. And the insurer side, of course, then they also have to pay out the settlement, but then a lot of times they end up paying more in costs than they do on the actual settlement amount. And so they're bleeding out in that way. And so we're trying to help
Any
stop the bleeding.
in any insurance experienced insurance professional, especially the claim side, or actuary, will tell you that a close claim is a happy claim. And
Yes.
a close claim is a good claim. And as much as we get crap in the media, and and we only make the news when something bad happened.
Sure.
Um, in 15 years in this industry, I have never had an adjuster tell me that they've been trained to do anything other than pay what we owe, not more, not less, right? Pay
Right.
what we owe. Um, Getting to what we owe is tricky, but pay what we owe, right? Um, and if we can pay what we owe today, or we can pay what we owe a year from now, it's better to pay it today,
Yes.
because yeah, we might make some money on the investment on that float, but the claim will likely get uglier over time. The claims don't get better, right? Claims don't
It
mature.
doesn't get better.
No,
It
yeah,
only always
yes,
gets worse. Yeah.
yes. Claims are like milk, not like wine, and they do not get better with time.
That's a great, I
Right?
love that
I
analogy. I'm
just
going to
came up
steal
with
that
that.
one for sure.
You're allowed to use it, absolutely. So yes, to everything you've said. Okay, I am always curious on the origin story, but we talked about it already. I'm curious on pricing. We talked about that. Implementation. We talked about that. I'm kind of going through my mental checklist.
One thing I didn't mention that might be important. So, in the event that there is an overlap, so in the event that the insurer puts in a number that is at least as much as what the attorney put in, which you would have an overlap in a settlement, they split the baby. And so, for instance, if the insurer puts into our platform that they are willing to pay $60,000, right? Neither side can see that number. We can't see that number. Plaintiff attorney puts in 50,000. Again, nobody can see that, but our system can detect that there's an overlap. They would have a binding settlement at 55.
Also, there. Oh, okay.
So it doesn't pick one side or the other.
Okay.
It goes down the middle. Now, our overlaps that we've seen on StreamSettle, after talking to both sides, and they call us after a settlement's reached, usually
Uh-huh.
like, is that really it? Are we really settled? That's great.
Uh-huh.
And, and I didn't know, I thought I was just going to get the number I put in, and I did better than that. And so both sides do as well or better than the number that they put in if settlement is reached. So, it makes it to where, we're just trying to remain a complete, fair, neutral party. And both sides, you don't have to worry about doing worse or doing, we have had an instance, a couple instances where they hit the number right on the money and both sides get exactly that number. A
Uh-huh.
lot of times it'll have $2,500 overlap. We've seen up to like a $15,000 overlap. But again, both parties would do better because they split the baby and save 7,500, right? So, that's another thing I forgot to mention. For when the settlement is reached, they split the baby.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I am always curious on the future of the product. So we are recording in mid-May. This will probably go out early June. That's for your own reference.
Okay.
So knowing that, are there any features that are coming down the development pipeline that you're excited about, or are we kind of feature complete for now, and right now it's getting the word out?
Yeah, so we have a whole list of things that our adjusters or that plaintiff attorneys have told us that they'd like to see. One thing that we're adding is so picture you order a pizza from Papa John's or from whatever your pizza place is, and you have a tracker, right, that tells you, hey, we're in the oven, hey, we're on our
Mhm.
way to
Yeah.
deliver it. So similar to that, we're going to have a little tracker, like a claims tracker, and they can adjust the phases as they, based on the wording that they're typically used to using.
Cool.
But
Okay.
what phase are you in? Have you just, are you post evaluation? Are you in the phase where you're doing initial discovery? Are you doing hiring your experts? Are you in expert depots? And as of course, as these phases go on, it gets more risky. Everyone takes on more risk and everybody spends a lot more money. And so we're wanting to be able to, you know, provide that data to our users and for them to be able to track on their own. Hey, I'm getting most of my claims settled as soon as they've been evaluated, which of course is going to be the most efficient way to reach a settlement. Of course, not every claim can settle right after evaluation.
Of
You
course.
need more discovery sometimes, right? But then at least test your numbers after you've done that discovery. And before you go on to that next phase, that expensive phase of hiring your experts, let's test our numbers again and just see why not, right? It doesn't cost anything to test your numbers. So
Uh-huh.
let's see if we can reach a settlement there. So we're going to add that feature. Let's see. Another one is just a dashboard again for our adjusters and for our plaintiffs' attorneys to see what claims they've got in the software, which ones are waiting on their numbers, which ones are waiting on their opponent's numbers, things like that. And then the final one that we're implementing is just like an API or some kind of a spreadsheet implementation to where the adjusters or the attorneys don't have to add the claims themselves. They'll all be in the system for them already. So all they have to do is go put their numbers in. So those are kind of the things we have coming up in the pipeline. Our biggest feature ad was the one I already told you about, which is close enough is good enough and let us know if we're
Close
within
enough.
20%. So that's what we just implemented that. We're really excited to see how that goes down because every user has asked us if we can let them know.
Of course.
So we built that out and just deployed that. And then I'm sure
Fantastic.
we'll, as we bring on more users, and we're also working with a company, a real estate company, who they're like a virtual kind of for sale by owner company, and they would like to use StreamSettle to negotiate the
Oh,
buying and
big
selling of the
fancy.
homes. So
Mm.
we'll have roles built out for that as well. So we're excited to see what we can do in real estate in the same
Yeah,
type of way.
my world is insurance, but this is freaking eBay.
Yeah, right. Or like
Anything that's
the
why I
tender
started
for
with you.
settlements is what we've been told a lot of times by like a younger
What is it?
generation.
What for
The
settlements?
tender of settlements.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
something like that. So
yeah. I show my age by saying eBay. So that's why I joked at the beginning that do you have this for personal use at home?
right.
Right, for $9 a month.
Yeah,
Because
we do see it going that way too eventually. Just really any negotiation, any user can hop
exactly.
on. You have a payor and a payee. Simple as that. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Chrysa, brilliant, brilliant stuff.
Well, thank you. I can't take credit.
Brilliant,
It's my husband's idea and I'm just
brilliant
running
stuff.
with it right alongside him. So it's
Fantastic.
been a
Thank you for
fun
coming on the
journey.
show. Uh, yeah. When this
Yeah,
goes live, I will tag both you and the company on LinkedIn. It'll probably be early June.
great.
Uh, and my among my listeners, it's probably like the ones that are buyers for your product are probably mostly chief claims officers or claims leaders.
That's correct.
Again, claims leaders, if there is a gaping hole that I just didn't see because I've never run a claims department, send me a message, let me know. I'm so curious.
And me, I would love to see
I,
to hear about
I
that
will
too.
not quote you on it. I will forward your message without your name to Chrysa. If you want to give her the feedback, then message us both. Her LinkedIn is included, tagged on the post. Honestly, I've never said this in the podcast before. I would love to know what is wrong. Why wouldn't every carrier sign up yesterday? And the only thing that I can
Thank
think
you.
of is uh, you're waiting for everybody else to sign up
Yep.
because that's how we work in our industry, right? I will never. A very good friend. I'll close with this. A very good friend, Charlie Kingdollar, uh, uh, for 39 years was the VP of Emerging Issues for Gen Re. He started as an underwriter, and then like he did some research for like some executive, and next thing he knows, they're like, "Congratulations, you are now the VP of Emerging Issues." A role that didn't exist before, and for 39 years, he basically his job was to read medical papers and like keep up with like tech research and basically write articles, papers, etc., speak at conferences about things that were likely to affect the carrier world, which are the and that's all he had. That's all he did for 39 years. That the clients of Gen Re are carriers, right?
Right.
So issues that are likely to affect the carriers in the long term. That's all he had to think about for 39 years. Then he retired for medical reasons. And he basically continues to do the job on LinkedIn. I encourage everybody to follow him. But the reason that I bring up Charlie is because I met him speaking at multiple conferences, and eventually we became friends. And what I always remember about Charlie, I don't know if he said it in his sessions, but he said it offline, so to speak, when you're just having a beer. And he said, Tony, many times, Tony, 30 some years before he retired, warning the industry about upcoming things that were going to cost him a ton of money. And what I learned is that the industry never, ever, ever, ever listens until there's been 10 million in losses. And
Right.
once
Yeah.
you have 10 million in losses, the book's already packed with the
Yeah.
problem, right? So it's like I don't know if he called asbestos. He might be too young, but basically everything that he called ahead of time, and some things he wasn't right on, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't omniscient, but basically like
He was right. Yeah. He's
he was
like
right a lot
the challenge
enough of the
whisperer of the
time
future. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see the and he had enough time to see the cycle where I've been talking about this for 5 years and nobody listened until
Yeah.
somebody had a $10 million loss, and now that they had it, everybody's calling me, and
Yeah.
at this point we've already written a whole bunch of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So carriers are just risk. This is just the way their minds work, right? They're just
Yes.
they're slow followers.
Risk averse.
Uh,
Yeah. Exactly.
and I understand why. All right. So thank you so much for your time today. A real
Thank you,
pleasure chatting
Tony.
with you. Very impressed with what you're doing. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed that.